mitzvahs,
Recording in
you
progress.
need to have the Esirusa de La'ela beforehand, and that's the idea of Torah versus mitzvahs, and that's the idea that we said before, that mitzvahs is the level of Oretz, the Maila of the Tachten, the Maila of the Oretz, Yisrael, that Malchus adds to the higher spheres, even in the way of Kesser, but it first has to receive from the sphere of Yisoid. It has to receive from above before it can have the level of the Aliyah that's even higher than the whole Seder Ishtalshlus. That's why Yisrael Eretz Bakoili, the advantage of Eretz, of the lowest level, of the level of Malchus, is after you have Koil, which is the sphere of Yisoid, that's mashpia. Just like Talmud, Mevil de Maisa, you need to have the learning, or you need to have the Amshach of learning, before you can have the Aliyah of Maisa Mitzvahs, which Maisa Mitzvahs is like the Mila that Eretz has, that Malchus has over everything, that Maisa Mitzvahs is the greatest of everything. It has the highest Shoresh, it reaches to the highest level. So now the Rebbe is going to explain this back concerning what we said about the sending of the Maraglim, that we said an expression via suru, that they will spy out, but we also said via suru is from the word addition and increase. Ois Daled, line 14 on the 5th page. According to this will also be understood the idea of sending out of the spies. Concerning this, it says they will. The simple sense is they will spy out, but they will tour, they will investigate the land of Canaan. But this specific word comes to teach us v'yasuru daikim meloshin Yisrael. Specifically, we use the word v'yasuru from the word extra, excess, increase. That this going into the land of Canaan causes the increase of light out of darkness, that occurs through the refinement of the land of Canaan. And the land of Canaan was specifically dark. The land of Canaan was one of the worst and most ruined of all the nations. Because Eretz Canaan was so low, the Pasuk had to warn, like the land, like the actions of the land of Mitzrayim that you lived over there, and like the actions of the land of Canaan, so you should not do. Since both the Mitzrim, the Egyptians, and the Canaanim were the worst, the most ruined of the nations. So that is the ultimate darkness. And from that darkness, there's the Yasuru, there's the Yisrin, there's the increase, there's the growth. That Canaan, in his hands, holds the scales of trickery. The word Canaan also means a business person. Just like a business person expends and gives out money to be able to profit from it. This is the advantage that comes about through the refinement of, that is, the refinement of what's below, in a way of trickery of Kedusha. Meaning, trickery of Kedusha is that you seemingly invest in things that have to do with Klippa. You're engaging with Klippa things. And then you trick Klippa by Klippa things that you're involved in it. And really you're there to extract the sparks out of Klippa. So you're tricking Klippa. And that's just like a businessman that invests money into whatever, but it's not so he should not have the money. he invests the money to be able to get a greater return, to get greater money back. The same thing, we invest our efforts into klippa, meaning into engaging with the world, into using physical objects, because through that we gain a greater result, we gain a net profit of so much more from our investment. Let's explain at length in the Mamorim of Parshas Vayeshev in Torah Oyer and in Torah Chaim, where it speaks about the idea of mirma of Kedusha, the idea of the trickery of Kedusha to fool Klippa, to be able to extract the higher sparks that are there. So that's the same idea of Yesuru Eretz K'naan, that they are doing K'naan, they're doing a business by the Yesuru. They are having a businessman's profit through the idea, and with the idea of Yesuru, the idea of the increase that happens from Eretz K'naan. Yet, we said before, for Malchus to be able to manifest its greater source, and for mitzvahs to be able to manifest its greater source, there needs to be Shacham al-Mailamata first. Line 29, Kadesha Yecholias, Birur V'Allah Satachton, so it should be able to be the refinement and the elevation of the below, which is the whole purpose of Yesura, Eretz K'naan, Yesh Tzorach, B'am Shacham al-Maila, there's a need to draw down from above. That's where it says that Moshe sent them to spy out the land, meaning Moshe had to send them. Moshe sending is like Yisoid being mashpian to Malchus, like Torah preceding mitzvahs. The halam al maila that comes before the hamshacham al maila before it comes the halam al mata. Ki Moshe b'chinas ma. Moshe is the level of shema. Shaydeza yuchaliya is habirur de ban. Shem ma is brought on Kabbalah, is mevarer shem ban. Ban has to do with Malchus and has to do with inyanim of this world, and the Ma is the revelation from above. So Ma, which is the level of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he and Aaron said, V'anachnu Ma, is the one that empowers the Meraglim and enables them to do the Berurim of the world of the Aretz. That's why it says, send to you and for you men, top of page Yud, Pirish, Shlach Anashim Shem Bechinas Umadrege Shalcha Mebechinas Shema. Very interesting nuance in this explanation, Shlach Lecha Anashim. Why does it say Shlach Lecha, that all the Mefarshim speak about in the Pasuk? So here he explains Shlach Lecha, meaning a level that has to do with you. Connect and send people that have to do with your level of Shema. Kidei shehem yuchlu lalish like bias Eretz K'naan, because they will be capable to elevate and to raise up the land of Canaan. That's what it also says. All of them were men. What then would we have thought? They're animals. What's the idea? All of them are men. That also it says in a similar pasuk concerning the donations to the Mishkan. It says from every ish, shepirushe shekulai nikra ish. Kol could mean every, or kol could mean entirely. That you have to take from those that are entirely an ish. What is the idea of an ish? K'mayim razal shatzadikim nikru eshkoilus. Tzadikim are called clusters, like clusters of grapes. What's the meaning of the word eshkoilos? So the word eshkoil could be divided into like 2 words or 3 words. Ish shahakoil boy, a person that everything is in it. So the same thing when we call them anashim, a variation of ish, and the ish is someone that we know already from the previous thing by Trumas HaMishkan, that it's kulay ish, that it's entirely ish, meaning that by saying kulam anashim, they are all tzaddikim. Like Mefarshim explained it, that's the explanation actually, the word tzaddikim. So the point is that why is it necessary to have dafke tzaddikim go? You need to spy out the land, you need soldiers, you need, I don't know, cartographers. Why do you need to have tzaddikim? Because mitzad goydel malosim, because their great quality and advantage. They were able to lasur as which means to affect the advantage and increase in the land, the elevation of the land through refining it. But before doing so, one needs to engage with the land. So he says in line 9, but for this there was a need in descending, in going down below, which is, like we said before, that the problem the Meraglim didn't want to do. The Meraglim did not have this humility and to lower themselves, like it's explained concerning this in books of Kabbalah. They did not want to descend from the world of thought, or at least from the world of speech to the world of action. The Alter Rebbe in Torah brings down two opinions about what the level of the Meraglim were. One opinion is that the level of the Meraglim was that they were in the world of thought, completely removed from the world of action. Another opinion is that they were in the world of speech. That's why it says that they were Doir HaMidbar. Midbar from the word Medaber. They had to do with speech, but speech, and for sure thought, is completely removed from action. Like you can imagine that if you have a person who's a big thinker, or a person even that's a good teacher or a good speaker, a talented, inspirational speaker, and all of a sudden you want him to engage in manual labor. That's not their world. That's a great descent. That's a great lowering of themselves. So in a similar vein, they were people of the world of thought, the people of the world of speech, and they could not relate to dealing with physical mitzvahs in the physical world in Eretz Yisrael. Because of that, the Meraglim wanted to remain in the wilderness. Over there, they were sustained by the man, which was bread from heaven. Concerning the man, it says that the food of bread of mighty ones, the man ate. So that's a reference to the man. So too they had water from the well of Miriam. And the clouds of glory that would iron and clean their clothes, that would grow with them. In addition to the fact that your clothes did not fall apart, and your shoes, which is the garment of the foot, did not ruin and did not fall apart upon your feet. And therefore, since all their needs were taken care of and in a very heavenly manner, and so the Meraglim were able to do their service in the spiritual sense. They would have no need to be involved in physical matters like after their entry to Eretz Yisrael. Therefore, they spoke negatively against the land, and they spoke badly on it. So they said about Eretz Yisrael, it's impossible to raise it up. The whole purpose was v'yasuru, go ahead and cause an increase and cause a salam il mata l'maylo. Came the Meraglim and said, it's impossible. This is not a possible thing to be done. V'adrab, just the opposite. Not only cannot we raise it up, but it's Eretz Eicheles Yeshvahi. It's a land that consumes its inhabitants. Shimrit rakti es yashus ba'aretz. If we will only settle into the land, so then they would cease to be entirely In other words, instead of, not only would they not become improved themselves, and they would not improve the land and elevate the land, but they would be consumed by the land. They would lose their entire existence. Also concerning this, they needed an empowerment from Moshe Rabbeinu. Though Moshe Rabbeinu was very, very high, he was also low, and he was also humble, like it says, like it says that Moshe was the most humble person from upon the face of the earth. And so the shalach lecha that we said we needed to send the power of Moshe Rabbeinu to be able to cause the Asuru in Eretz Canaan is not just like the Sfiras HaYesoid that has to come down to Malchus, and not just the Goldil Talmud Shemeva de Maisa, that before the Halom al Mata Lamailom, you need to have them Shacham al Mailam Matam, but also to deal with this problem. The problem that the Meraglim were worried and they could not see themselves lowering themselves. So Moshe Rabbeinu, who was lowering himself the whole time, he was humble, would be the empowerment for them to be able to lower themselves. So he says in line 28, this is what it means, send. Again, l'cha meaning mibchina umadrega shalcha. From your level, send people. Meaning, share with them this capability to lower themselves. So that also the Meraglim will have the bittul and the low, the capability to be low, so that they should be able to descend below and to affect the increase in the land through the refining and elevating of the land. Top of page Yud Aleph. That's what it means, send to you and for you men, and they will be Yasuru Eretz Canaan, Shezeu Be'inyan Habiru de B'chinas Eretz Shenasai de Mitzvahs Maisis. That's the refinement of the level of Eretz that occurs through mitzvahs in action. Shezeu Klolos Maseinu Avedesenu. That's the general idea of our actions and service, especially in the time of exile. The loss of love through that we come to the revelations of Mashiach's times, just like the elevation of Eretz Yisrael. So it should be in a way of an inheritance without boundaries, not like Eretz Yisrael then that had particular boundaries, but like the Chazal say that the different times Yidden were given, Avram was given promises, and Yitzchak was given promises, and Yaakov, but Yaakov was given a promise without mitzarim, without any types of boundaries. That there was for us the Yom of Akedim, it's a find of a negva. That it was, he didn't say a boundary. He said Avram Avinu, it'll be there, but it didn't say exactly the limitations. So just spread out. Let's just see this Maimer Chazal. It's an interesting Maimer Chazal. Line 13, the Rebbe a lot of times refers to it in the commentary on the right. Again, the commentary on the right, whoever delights the Shabbos, they give him a lot, an inheritance without boundaries. Then you will delight in Hashem, and I will make you ride on the heights of the land, and I will give you to consume the inheritance of Yaakov, your father. What's the emphasis on Yaakov, your father? So the Chazal say as follows. Like Avram, not like Avram that it says rise and travel in this land to its length and to its breadth. And he also even indicated the exact locations and so on. And not like Yitzchak that says by him that to you and your seed I will give all these lands. So again, he's referring to these lands. But rather like Yaakov Shekosov, by Yaakov it says you will expand and spread out to the west, to the east, to the north, and to the south, meaning what doesn't say a limit, doesn't say which lands, where he's going to expand. So he says, and that's the idea of, back to the text itself, line 7, Malchus specifically has this capability of specifically Malchus is the great increase in expansion, because that's the idea of Malchus, that spreads out all over the place. It goes into every place, it goes to the lowest, it comes from the highest, and so on, that you don't have that in the spheres above. The kosher is it's connected specifically with the multitude and expansion. Specifically in this world, you have the level of ispashtus. By the way, this is similar to the idea of eretz. That's the reason why it causes the land, causes the seed to grow in an unbelievable way with the trees and the fruits and so on, from one seed, as we said, as opposed to there's no tzmicha in the heavens, like we've explained on a different occasion. Why is there ribi spashtus of Malchus specifically in this world? Because over there, dafke in this world, shines the light of Soiv Kalam. Soiv Kalam is infinite, as opposed to Mal Kalam, which shines in the higher worlds, are finite. So therefore, in this world specifically, Malchus comes down with the power that Malchus is connected with the Ein Sof, like we mentioned earlier, and therefore it expands in this world in a way without any type of limitations. This is also the reason that Chassidus explains why only in this world you can have tshuva. Once a person leaves this world, there's no tshuva. Why is that? Because when we're in the level of Mamal Kalam, which is out of this world, so over there, everything is in its particular place, and it's limited. Everything, this is in this place, this is in that place. You can't leave whatever you've earned and been assigned to. But the level of Soiv Kalam, since it's without any boundaries, you could jump from one extreme to the other extreme. A person could be in the lowest of the low and jump to the highest of the high. And not just any types of height, achas, doinus, nachlok, yazachis, to such a degree that even intentional sins can come to be turned into mitzvahs. The transformation of darkness to light and bitter to sweet. Let's explain the darkness in the mitzvah of Vidu Tshuva, that he explains why Tshuva is capable of doing this and functioning specifically in this world. This is also the idea why Mashiach is going to come to bring tzaddikim to do tshuva, because then it's going to shine this level of malchus that's connected to the level of soiv kalam. Then will be the greatness of action, because again, like it's explained in many places, what's the greatness of action? Action has to do with the level of malchus. And why is Malchus and action and mitzvahs greater? Because it has its shoydish in Soiv Kalam. That Ein Sof, that becomes revealed when Mashiach comes. So that's why, even though till Mashiach comes we say Talmud Gadol, Shemei Vilde Maisa, but it's still Talmud Gadol. But Mashiach's times, it's going to be clear and open. The action is the greater, because you're going to see that Maila, that revelation of Soiv. All this comes through our actions and our service in studying Torah in a broad way. And the learning brings to actions in the fulfillment of mitzvahs. The kiyum mitzvahs behidur, and fulfilling the mitzvahs with care and above and beyond the letter of the law. Till we effect this leaving the imprisonment of the Yetzer Hara, the foreign God that's within you, until we reach the release and the freedom of the imprisonment of Golus in the literal sense, and we go out to true freedom, Golus, in an exile that has no in a redemption that has no exile following it, and over there we will sing a new song when Mashiach comes.